Hello, welcome. This is Deana, and I am back with the Daily Dharma. And for whatever reason, this is approximately maybe the third take, and I'm one that I just roll with whatever I say, but for whatever reason, I'm coming into this reading with some sort of like a stutter or a reluctance to just say what's on my mind. It's like my judgment is interfering with my speech. And I've pre-laid out the cards prior to the first recording, so it's like I already kind of know what I want to say, which is probably part of the message of having this difficulty speaking in the world the way that we intended to say, or the things that we really feel, not really shining through whatever persona or even the words that we do choose to use, others still seeming to maybe misunderstand or misinterpret, or maybe not feeling the resonance between ourselves and another, perhaps. So this wasn't what I was going to talk about, but interestingly enough, in the pre-shuffle from the mixed Shaman decks, I have 111 on the timer there, Middle World and Hollow Bone Teachability, which ended up being part of the message was Spirit kind of poking at me because I always had so much to say. And I even took longer than an hour to set my energy and vibration once I sat down at the table. And I got a phone call, which was a good phone call anyways. And then I had to reset my energy again. So there's been some restarts. So having this preconception of what I thought the cards meant, and then coming back in and seeing so many different things coming through, I felt immediately like this hollow bone teachability is Spirit kind of saying, oh, and one of the other things I did was I was rethinking yesterday's message and getting some channeled messages that I researched online, and I found some things that I thought were pertinent to the message as well, which I will get to in a little bit. But teachability is like Spirit saying, yeah, you are following up on these things, and that's great that you're witnessing that you don't know as much as you may want to know, that there's still always more to look into, and that sometimes you misinterpret the messages and the things that you see, the symbols you interpret. And I wouldn't even say necessarily misinterpret or people misunderstand you. It's just maybe being not in the right time space or mind space to be able to interpret those messages in the moment. And there was this conversation I had previous to recording as well about the timelessness of the reading and the impact that I might have by saying one thing correct or incorrect, or somebody taking it the right way or the wrong way, and the way that I try to explain things. First, the way that the sensation and impression comes through, and then I try to say what I think that means, and then I might come back and say this further dimension of the symbolic impact of my thoughts about what that thing I think might be. And this isn't the way that everybody communicates, but I'm being told that that's kind of, it's all part of the message. So part of what I started to say in one of the previous messages is that the middle world represents the third dimension. And we don't want to be so quick to judge that middle world as having nothing spiritual about it. The mundane is comprised of all things spirit-based. Every molecule, every atom, everything that we perceive and can't perceive of is all comprised of, let's just call it stardust for lack of a better term right now. And it's the great mystery. And in the Tao, there's a passage somewhere that says, if you believe that every man-made thing and everything of, let's call that the matrix in the moment, that isn't spiritually based as well, that you've also somewhat become lost in preconceptions that are clouding your further expansion or growth in this moment, right? And that all has its time and place, but we're told too that there's something else that we've been perceiving but maybe not completely. So there's more to the story. And so I don't know if this for you is a past situation or a future dream that is coming into your awareness, but it may be a combination of several different things at once. But we're being told that as new things evolve in our lives, as we grow and evolve, there's more to the story. And so not to judge anything that interferes or redirects or might seem as the burdens or the obstacles being thrown in our way in pursuit of whatever, or those things that we feel limited our progress in the past, like feeling that we should have been further along in the middle world, like further status, further money, all of these things. There's this, whatever you associate with those ego ideals that come into play with the third dimension. It's a double message with, don't think that that isn't comprised of spirit, right? And so don't think that your dreams and pursuits and goals in the third dimensional world are to be somewhat, let's say, demonized or something like that, where you would think, oh, well, money is actually evil, and questioning those beliefs and perceptions of people in positions of power get to do blah 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 when I'm here stuck with this, or however it comes through to you, or you're the boss and I have so many of these people relying on me, but they don't see the pressure of blah blah blah, what I have to balance the ledger at the end of the day to make sure that these people all go home and feed their families and themselves, right? It's a lot of pressure in both directions. And so we're being told, as all of us, to not be so quick in our minds. Our judging, discerning minds are so powerful for great reasons, and I feel like there's a breakthrough here that's happening in our lives where we're seeing through in the moment. And it's just, and if you haven't had one of these moments, it's definitely trying to schedule in time so that you can allow your physical vessel to be hollowed out, to release all of the stress and the debris, because all of those accumulated stresses of the outside world, they become distractions and they cloud our vision. Because when we, let's say, go to bed with a busy mind, tension in our field, sore muscles are evidence of having things that haven't worked their way through and flowed through our entirety. It's and of hard work, which can feel somewhat satisfying too, but sometimes sore muscles represent kinks, let's call them, in our energetic signature or in our energy system, which is all the way to the cellular molecular level of self, energetic energies that flow in and surround and swirl in our sphere and between us and others, projected energies, and those coming in, going, and how we exchange with the outer world, how fulfilled we feel on multiple levels and multiple dimensions. Let's say, like, there's different models. I like the 8 dimensions of wellness. It's like spiritual well-being, social well-being, financial, of course, physical and mental. I'm missing a few, but that wasn't necessarily part of the message right now. I didn't pre-research everything, which I guess is good. It's just supposed to be whatever it is for you. You will know what it is that is feeling unbalanced, and there's a need to reappropriate some time, space, so that you can empty out that physical vessel, either by detox or stink bug over here on my stuff. Get off my tarot table here. Bye-bye. Bye-bye. Oh, the pole barn. It will be painted sometime soon, folks. But there's so much life to be lived. So, hollow bone. Yeah, it's purging, detoxing. It's detoxing mind, body, spirit, and reappropriating our time into all of those various spheres that some may have eclipsed the goals and needs of others, but it's okay to be needful. But just, when we get to where we're not satisfying our own needs, 10:10 on the timer, then we become needy in asking for others to fulfill us from the outside, which never works. The boss can't give us enough raises for us to feel like we could relax, because I guess there's as much money as we make, we can always spend it, because we have always had those goals. And so there's always this stepping up process and stepping up urge. So when we spend time and energy thinking poor thoughts about the so-called apparent opponents, and I heard the word parent in there, then we're missing the point energetically, and we're focused on lack. Where if we focus on, well, I'm happy to be productive and to be able to bring home this money, I'm going to work really hard, and if advancement isn't possible here, I'll go where it is, because I am highly sought after and protected, and I am here to move towards the beat of my self-fulfillment. And if it's not here, I'll go there, which is part of that yesterday's message. It's the ongoing. And I did see 11:11 while I was talking about that, which was good for me. So the first card that popped out with the code cards is perception. So it's like that preconception. The frequency of perception supports our natural curiosity, moving us beyond our comfort zone to find the edges of what we perceive as real and take a good, hard, deep look at it. So there's some kind of judgment that we're being told is blocking our ability to expand right now into further greater love, abundance, receiving mode, all of that magnetism, where we want to, that's the only place where we really want to act from, is when we're in our pure magnetism. Then we know that our actions will be guided by fulfillment and feeling that all good things are coming to me and all opportunities are available with choice and will. So we've got 4 cards coming next. I have 13 Coherence. I'll give you them all first and then we'll read them. Delight, 19, which has been coming out a lot. And I did get the Joyful Muse Inspiration card too in the pre-shuffle. Sacral Chakra, number 2, and 14, Communication. So we have Coherence and Communication, 13 and 14. And so there's something about the way that we perceive things is definitely the way that we broadcast our light signal out into the world, our vibrational energetic signature, that the radiated self, the expressive self, is communicated verbally, non-verbally, through the things that we adorn ourselves with as these industrious humans that we are, with these beautiful material things that express aspects of our qualities and personal quirks and our adaptability, our teachability to follow some trend or another, or find out how it's not cool to wear the hair or how it is. And, there's all kinds of things at play out in the middle world. And if you look at people and the way that they move and shape themselves and shape the world around them, it's beautiful. It's related to another message that I didn't think was related, but I'll pull that out too to remind myself to come back. But this coherence is mind and heart connected. And under the deck here, Tantric Journey was the most prominent, as it was the underneath card 42. But then I saw that Throat Chakra was popping up underneath, and it was poked above the rest of the cards, and on the next pile below was Universal Love. So we may or may not take a look at some of the cards between those. But I'm really feeling that Tantric Journey and Coherence are very related. And Coherence says it supports our ability to harmonize the frequency of the heart with the frequency of the mind for the optimal ability to create the reality that we desire. And Tantric Journey says the frequency helps us to unlock the hidden knowledge and wisdom that we intrinsically hold about how to reach a state of wholeness and completion through our sensual experiences with ourselves and with another. And sacral chakra too it's not the genitals per se and the reproductive urge at first, it's the desire center. And so it's more of the gestation period of cultivation is what I want to say, bringing something to fruition. And so understanding the heart and the mind is understanding the journey in such a way that every bit of suffering is a stepping stone until we can get there, right? And every bit of delight is savored and remembered and is part of our happy place. And so because we are in this state of this tantric journey amongst ourselves, alchemizing all that we are, shadow and light, I find tantric journey is coherence of mind and body, spirit and body, while coherence is heart and mind. So coherence is an internal process in a different way that than the physical integrates with spiritual. And so spiritual alchemy is what happens in harmonic resonance with coherence. And so coherence is the divine limiter of interpretation and perception and our ability to be the neutral observer or the neutral witness to our process and how the process is then alchemized into our purpose and our sense of healthy self-pride. And a big part of the initial message that I thought that I was going to convey right off the bat with Tantric Journey and Sacral and Delight, I really feel that there's a huge element of the body that is being called into question. And we have this middle world as well, right? So middle world is the temporal, the material, the vessel, the physical being that we are. And we're here with these senses, and they're unique to the physical embodiment process. And we've been talking a lot about alignment and embodiment. And those two things are the main goal if you're not feeling like you're in that flow or in that divine alchemy. You're still having that wobble further than what you'd like out of where you are purposefully moving forward. Yes, there's the limitation there is only ourselves. And then once we can see beyond the shadow cast by the light of others in whatever form that takes, then we can understand universal love. We can understand mercy and forgiveness in a different way when we have screwed up too, and when we're willing and able to coherently look within ourselves and check our own behaviors and our own thought patterns. And when somebody says something to us and it stings a little, it's because it touches a nerve. And what is that nerve? Is it false evidence appearing as something real? Or is it something that has some roots in something such as feeling you should be further ahead and knowing that you take a lot of leisure, or knowing that you push too hard in the outer world and so you don't have that leisure time? It's knowing that we could, but then somebody would have to feel, we'd either have to take our energy away from someone over here that somehow has either our attention or has our obligation or something like this. There's this urge to see through something in a different way. If your time is becoming or comes at a premium, don't allow others to pay you less than you deserve. And if you decide to take on a client for less than you would make, then there's got to be a reciprocity, a give and take, or some type of a barter system, or coming back with something else, you know? I'm thinking of a missed opportunity here that I had recently that I wasn't thinking about. Okay, so yeah, it's the communication is coming through in many different ways, and I feel like at this time, the more that we can get into the body and feel the tension or feel the expansion and feel the dynamic qualities of the emotions that do fluctuate, and the recognition also that judgment is almost inevitable, I want to say, because of the way that our bodies are wired and our minds are wired. We're always going to be seeking understanding through this urge for coherence, to the urge to understand the dynamic impact of statements and thoughts and words and fears that come into our heart space or into our mental space and commingle, and then sorting process that happens from there. And I feel like there's a big shift happening, some kind of big awareness where perhaps in some situations, one I'm thinking of, where one individual has met another individual or has engaged in a deeper conversation with someone, and some type of a word is innocently said, or a phrase, and this other individual all of a sudden has this epiphany moment, 22:22 in the clock, where all of a sudden they're thinking, oh, well, if that's true, then I need to question this other thing that I had never questioned about myself in the past. So real quick, I'll go from that and into these real quick channelings. So I was thinking of some type of editing for someone else and myself. So the process of editing things, and I do believe this may have come out before I even laid out these cards. Yeah, absolutely, because I did have this written down. And then under that I wrote creator versus observer, boss and staff, head and body was what I was supposed to write, and I wrote heady and body. And so this is so many different things. I'm seeing that I'm somebody who doesn't want to edit my stuff. I like it to be authentic, I like it to be real, and I like the entirety of the message to not be questioned because it's out there for something or someone. Because judgment helps us break through lack of coherence, judgment of others. The more real others are, the more that it might cause us to judge them, or the more it might cause us to admire them. And we are the ones who are either assigning confidence and courage, or transparency, or naivety, or whatever you would assign. That's your perception, right? So I'm just using this as part of the message of how then we perceive others out into the middle world. These others could have these profound thoughts and never communicate them to a soul because they don't have an audience, or they don't feel that delight has ever been the response to their thoughts. And so maybe you have a message that hasn't been communicated fully because of self-editing, self-judgment, some kind of stutter or faltering before wanting to say something. And the bit of editing, it was something about the editing software and the ability to then string videos together, or add intros, add thumbnails, things like this. And I'm thinking that kind of takes somebody into that creator status, because the more that somebody is creating or co-creating or sharing with others, the less they're sometimes obviously the more you're talking, the less you're listening. And so some people have been in a predominantly listening state for a long time, and they've had so much accumulated knowledge and thought forms that have come and responses to those, that those people that have been listening are highly charged with information, with data, with experience, and with thoughts that others are sharing psychically, telepathically, and there's a need for your message to bubble up and to come to the surface. So when you're passively watching and listening, there's a lot that can be gleaned from that experience, but you're still in that position of observer, the observation of another doing their thing. I'm watching a stink bug just climb all over my recording equipment. It's interesting. So when you're then able to go and string things together, such as data that appears to be disconnected, and to connect the dots, you're bridging information. You're being told that now you're entering creator status, and that you were that hollow bone, and you've gone through that teachability. And if you've already surpassed this a couple times, it might be time to jump back into those practices of creating, co-creating with others, asking others what their experiences are, and listening more, or speaking and communicating more, sharing more. So observation is passive, obviously, right? And creativity comes from sharing. So the boss is often seen as somebody who goes out and gets things done, that yang energy of doing and sharing, and that divine masculine aspect of protecting, providing, and perpetuation, tradition perhaps. And then the staff are those that are the body. So it's like the head that is like this, the bubble head. Somebody who is too heady is sometimes disconnected from their body because of the unpredictability, the spontaneous dynamism of emotions or physical needs. They would become disconnected and stay either in spiritual or in mundane or logic, versus getting into the heart space. And it's often this pressure that builds, and the anxiety and the stress that builds, that then has you in that bubble, which is again pushing out those relaxation, the peaceful vibrations of when you're able to detox the mind a little bit more and release the stagnant energy from there. And so that headiness needs to be channeled back down into the body and grounded. So the body is what we're being talking about today. So the staff too, I wanted to also say I had the staff as in like a walking staff, and I take that as authority, spiritual leadership, the shamanic, the one that leads or heads the mission or the journey, the hermit staff. So, or maybe Hermes, and the staff, the caduceus, that alchemical sign that's used by the medical industry. So the staff is often they are the reason that stuff gets done. They are the entire, let's say, corporation. You can't just have a head without the body. So if you don't feed the body, it becomes emaciated or revolts against you with sickness, disease, toxicity. And just like in a corporation, there becomes mutiny. And so it's essential for the health of the head to match the health of the body and vice versa. And so if you've been somebody who's been only in the earth and haven't really gotten time to release and meditate, let's say, it's that element of balance. But I'm feeling it's mostly about allowing those energies that have become trapped into the upper chakras, predominantly above the heart space, which are throat, third eye, and crown, and above, connection with source, spirit, mediumship, channeling, galactics, or your religious precepts and ideals. All of these things keep one in the head space. So I'm seeing that light coming in and diffusing the tension around your head, neck, and shoulders instantaneously when you commit to yourself that you are ready to release the stress that does not serve, and letting these thoughts just chill on the outside of your sacred headspace for just a few moments at a time, as long as you can muster, because there's a need for some quiet time in your head, the silencing of the stress, and a reconnection to your divine and sacred temple that is your body. So feed your body very well. Something that delights the senses, like fresh fruit for many people is amazing. But if you've been eating Doritos and ice cream, then you're going to have a sugar addiction. And so there's a bit of detox, sugar detox. If you get rid of all of those sugar cravings within reason, fresh fruit starts to taste incredible. And the same thing with greens. They're not going to taste as amazing, let's say, if you're addicted to fried potatoes or something else. It's a process of introducing new thoughts or new concepts, new foods, new tastes and flavors, and then finding the ones that make you feel the best in your body. I mean, because I personally can't eat walnuts for whatever reason. I can eat for a little while and then all of a sudden it's just not good. So there's things that people can't eat. But there are many things like herbs, like cilantro can detox your, detox from heavy metals in the brain, which many metals will accumulate in brain tissue. You can look into detoxifying many different systems of the body and looking into something more clean eating, more real foods, things that haven't even been boiled. But I will say that the studies out there say that just a tad bit of softening the skin of a carrot increases its nutritional value. So hollow bone, research the things that you're trying out, how to make it most nutritionally dense, and maybe what your zodiac sign needs most of all. Like Taurus, for instance, is notorious for needing those thyroid type of supplements like iodine. But I will say iodized salt is not your friend. You can look that up on your own if you wish. Sea salt is better, but it's still harvested. It's do we really need the salt at all, is maybe the question. And our body, the salt, cell salts, yes. Cell salts are electrolytes, and that's what the body truly needs and craves for cellular health, is amino acids, the building blocks of DNA, some proteins, lean proteins. I didn't come here to do all this, did I? I guess so. So the thing that I was talking about yesterday's reading was this having reached rock bottom and propelling oneself up. And I said something about the 7 rays, especially the blue ray with Archangel Michael. And so for whatever reason, I was told to look this up. I looked it up and I found something on Wikipedia, which not everything on there resonated with me. You can look up your own sites and sources. But it said something under the 7 rays, under the theosophy, section, it was saying something about Osiris was taking a boat with the 7 rays across this body of water, and it's something to do with the ascension process. And then it said that the 7 rays, which were said to free fall from macrocosmic center. So the macrocosmic center, it's as if yesterday's message with that sweat lodge, with that beam of light, it was like, then you're looking up from this empty well, there's nothing here for me. Beam me up, Scotty. Take me back out of this body. It's been suffering. It's hurt. It's aging. It has all these things. I was promised a sensual experience, and I'm focused on what's not working. And so I was seeing that as that, having already visited the depths of being plummeted to earth, that fallen angel, that spiritual narcolepsy card was also fell out in the pre-shuffle. And it's like having already been to that bottom, to the depths of healing. And then it was talking about like having fallen from the stars, that stardust. We're made of that stardust, and here we are denying the body, and like, oh, I wish I was in spirit sometimes, some people, right? And ignoring those tantric needs for the journey. This lifetime is the tantric journey that we're communicating back. And are we one who is a vessel of universal love? And is that our energy signature, our energy frequency that we're emanating outward into the world? And if not, what's in the way? It's something that has interfered with our ability to be taught love, or our ability to trust and have faith in love, to feel that bonding or support, something there, or something else like a material attachment or codependency, or just distractions. So the more distractions that we have, the more that we can't see past them. They are the fog, they are the veil, the third dimensional bubble that some of us are not able to see beyond, are those things that we're attached to, thought forms, belief structures, perceptions, fears of judgment and our judgments of others. And why do we feel those judgments? What does it say about the root need within? So yeah, there's this auric bubble around the third dimensional, the false ego self, that has fallen as far as is necessary for this journey I'm feeling, and is ready to come back and communicate something else. And the next leg of the journey is something about the body. So then it said something else about this man lion. Oh, and by the way, it was focused upon the star Sirius B. So that being the macrocosmic center. So I don't know if that resonates with you, which it also talks to me about the Lion's Gate, which already has come up in previous readings. Lion's Gate is around the first week of August, when there's an alignment. Our central sun here is, or our solar system sun is said to be in a binary system with Sirius, and our sun is in the backdrop is the constellation of Leo, so we say that the sun is in Leo from Earth's vantage point, and then beyond that it's aligning with Sirius B. And so that's where the 7 rays are coming from. And I'm not telling you that this is 100%. This is somebody's theory that is channeled through. This seems interesting and symbolic, if nothing else. So this man lion came through in the Egyptian picture of that individual shedding the ancient ruins of the shell of self and becoming this light body self, emerging illuminated with these wings. And it was upon this Egyptian man lion. So it's so interesting how things come through, and I don't know that I know. It might be somewhere in that subconscious, and you might be saying things that you don't even know you know. You might be underestimating yourself. But teachability is saying don't overestimate yourself, so be taught. And there was a link to the 7 rays of the crown of this man lion, and they correspond with the 7 Greek vowels from the Greek alphabet. And so when they spelled them out, it kind of, to me, it looked almost like Ewa, maybe? The Avatar movie, the James Cameron version, came into my mind with that. And I immediately was thinking, I wonder if some of these things are throwbacks to things like the Harry Potter movie made so many references to different cultures and spiritual practice. So being focused upon Sirius is interesting to me. So maybe I'm speaking to a group of star children today. So anyways, I did write down, just for my own reference, the color correspondence, because that resonated with me. I'm somebody who gets a lot out of color. And blue is Archangel Michael, the throat chakra, communication. He has the sword of truth, clarity, insight, and justice. And then we have yellow is Jophiel. I don't know all of the designations and tools that they are represented by. Pink is Shamuel. White, Gabriel. Now those 3, Jophiel, Shamuel, and Gabriel, I talked about the color palette with this Delight card. I feel like they are the combination of co-creative energetics behind ecstatic delight and appreciation. And let's just in the moment right now, I'm hearing the word orgasmic. So if you're looking for that organic experience, it's delightful for a reason. It unlocks the tension from the cellular DNA and releases whether biochemical or byproducts or liberating free radicals into the system, hydration and all of that coming through and pushing that out. There's something about the frequencies of color, light, and the correspondence that happens with that can also detoxify your body. So I feel like they're the co-creators of liberation from that tension and becoming the yellow, pink, and white to me is creative authority, self-love, and purity and divinity. Sort of, right? So this says, the frequency of delight supports our capacity to create and experience feelings of intense joy and happiness. The more delight we feel, the more delight we evoke in others. So try to recognize if you're in a negative mindset, maybe that's the dissonance between yourself and others because they're dealing with so much negativity in their own self. The exponential negativity is a deterrent and a push away. It could be, right? And when you're feeling delightful, people want to come and kind of siphon your energy. So protect yourself in that situation. And sacral chakra, again, supports our ability to flow with desires, stimulates creative power to manifest success and abundance in our life, and it helps us to really bring something to fruition, something that we care for, we're bonded to, it matters to us, we want it. It's a goal, it's a desire, it makes us feel amazing. So communication supports our ability to exchange information in many different forms, verbal, nonverbal, color, frequency, energetic, beyond the veil, in our meditations, telepathically, psychokinesis. Many different messages can come to you, and just because you can't read it in a book doesn't make it not true for you. It reminds us to run every piece of information, both incoming and outgoing, through our heart, the center of our truth, and to stay in the flow of source and balanced exchange. Yes, balanced exchange, light and dark, above, below. To remain teachable, we have to release those preconceptions. And when we're liberated from those temporal concerns and preoccupations that become obsessions or obstacles to growth and evolution and expansion, I feel like we can alleviate some of that pressure and utilize color and frequency and music and delightful frequencies to recall all of our attention to the center and to breathe light back into the cellular level of our bodies, minds, and spirits, and to then somehow change the way that we're broadcasting our body, and our ability to be embodied is resting upon all of this tantric journey. There was maybe, I don't know, I didn't feel like that was going to take quite so long to convey that message, and now I feel like there is plenty on the board. And since I always love the way that Spirit helps me by being synchronistically helpful, by giving the right messages through different decks, I'm just going to close today out with a Tao message. Here it is. Thank you so much once again for joining me, and if this resonated, please do like, share, comment, subscribe, share with your loved ones. Somebody is definitely sharing energy here with the channel because we're getting better and better. I don't know. So we have popping out, I guess there were two. The top one is number 13, which is the same number as the Coherence card here. So that's the number one card I want to read. And I'm just noticing, even though we have 13, 14, and I called that out, we also have a 35, 36 here. And master number 44 with universal love. Okay, so number 13. Success is as dangerous as failure. Their hope is as hollow as fear. What does it mean that success is as dangerous as failure? Whether you go up the ladder or down it, your position is shaky. When you stand with your 2 feet on the ground, you will always keep your balance. Grounding. What does it mean that hope is as hollow as fear? Hope and fear are both phantoms that arise from thinking of the self. When we don't see the self as self, what do we have to fear? See the world as yourself. Have faith in the way things are. Love the world as yourself. Then you can care for all things. Universal love. This is a long one. 28. Know the male, yet keep to the female. Receive the world in your arms. That's one statement. Knowing talks about that logic again, yet keeping to the receptive, the female, you receive the world in your arms. Universal love. If you receive the world, the Tao will never leave you, and you will be like a little child. Know the white, yet keep to the black. Be a pattern for the world. If you are a pattern for the world, the Tao will be strong inside you, and there will be nothing you can't do. Know the personal, yet keep to the impersonal. Accept the world as it is. If you accept the world, the Tao will be luminous inside you, and you will return to your primal self. The world is formed from the void, like utensils from a block of wood. The master knows the utensils, yet keeps to the block. Thus, she can use all things. And under the deck, when a country obtains power, it becomes like the sea. All streams run downward into it. The more powerful it grows, the greater the need for humility. Humility means trusting the Tao, thus never needing to be defensive. A great nation is like a great man. When he makes a mistake, he realizes it. Having realized it, he admits it. Having admitted it, he corrects it. He considers those who point out his faults as his most benevolent teachers. He thinks of his enemy as the shadow that he himself casts. If a nation is centered in the Tao, if it nourishes its own people and doesn't meddle in the affairs of others, it will be a light to all nations in the world. That one made me have a strange, tingly, prickly feeling all across my upper chest and upper back. And if I'm not mistaken, the upper back, I used to equate that with the earth angel kind of growing those spiritual wings. It's like that figure illuminated, radiant, and just starting to come from the rocky chrysalis and spread the wings. And it's like the wings are now out and emerged. That was the 61 card. And the reason I pulled this deck, when it says something about seeing yourself but not seeing yourself, I wanted to remember and see if Spirit would show it to me. There's this ghost dance card from one of the shamanic decks here, the Mystical Shaman, and that was in the pre-shuffle, and it's like this really foggy, dense, auric type of a feel, and it says ghost dance, and it reminded me, there it is, thank you, master number 22, I see. Check this image out. I feel like this, all these change for me as I see them at different times, but I feel like in the moment today, this was as if walking through a dense dream where you're sort of becoming half lucid to multiple timelines, and in this situation where you absolutely know who you are and in the dream, which isn't necessarily connected to this incarnation, and you're in this moment. Have you ever had this experience where you're aware in the dream of your entire life and how you are and what you're up to? You know various situations that have happened which seem symbolic in this moment. You're aware of memories like these little wisps up here in the clouds, as also you're aware of the entire landscape, because you're also duplicating the process by being an over omnipotent observer of the situation, and in doing so you're aware of the body, and it's almost like the melding between perception of self from within and of the perception of self from without, commingled, and an observation throughout the timelines, where it's like this, almost like not a mirage or a hologram, but like smoky. It's is it a memory? Is it a precognition? Is it a different lifetime for you? I'm not sure how that resonates, but it was just yeah, it was something about when we don't see the self as the self, what do we have to fear? See the world as yourself. Then you can care for all things. There's something that was resonating, and I was told to connect those two. So if you need to rewind it and hear the whole thing again and relate it to your situation, feel free. But anyways, I am leaving it there. Thank you so much once again for joining. As usual, we will be back again tomorrow. Take care of yourself and your body.